Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next EdShorts webinar. EdShorts is a community for educators and school leaders devoted to sharing insights and ideas through bite-sized, power-packed free webinars meant to inspire conversation, encourage innovation, and create connections. The topic for today's session is going to be the OST 2020 to 2021 Blueprints and Best Practices. This session will be presented to you by my colleague Darcy, providing all of the critical information about this year's assessment. If you have any questions, please leave those in the comments, and if you're watching in the future, please leave those questions in the comments as well. We'll be happy to get back to you as soon as possible. So, without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to my wonderful colleague, Darcy.
Good afternoon. Welcome to this week's first EdShorts session. Today we will discuss available updates about the 2021 Ohio State tests. We will cover the test structure, item types, testing windows, test dates, and the performance level descriptors. Let's get started. The spring 2021 administration of the Ohio State tests will be online. Paper tests are only available for students who require supports and accommodations due to specific situations. All students in Ohio public school systems in grades 3 to high school are required to take the reading, math, science, and social assessments. Each test, both in math and ELA, has two parts, Part 1 and Part 2. It is up to the districts and schools to decide whether to administer both parts in one day or administer one part on one day and the other part on another day. Separate scores will not be reported for Part 1 and Part 2. A comprehensive summative score will be reported for each test. A student who does not take one part of the test will receive 0 points for the questions on that part of the test, but will receive a summative score for the test if the attempted criteria are met. In English Language Arts, grades 3 to 5 tests will cover reading and one extended writing response in Part 1, reading only in Part 2. Grades 6 through English Language Arts 2 will cover reading and one extended writing response in Part 1, reading and one extended writing response in Part 2. In math, the domains covered will depend on the grade of the assessment. The online testing site enforces students to complete an online test part on the same day once students start their tests. Students will not sign into a test that was started on a previous day without approval. In the current online Ohio State tests for ELA, there are 5 item types: selectable hot text, table matching, multiple choice, multi-select, extended response. These item types can be seen alone or can be combined to create test items. When multiple test items are combined, they will create evidence-based selected response items and multi-interaction items. In the math test, 10 item types may appear: equation item, gap match item, grid item, hot text item, inline choice item, matching item, multiple choice item, multiple select item, simulation item, table item. For paper-based tests conducted for students with an IEP or 504 plan, the items will be modified to be scanned and scored electronically or hand-scored. All items in the test are aligned to a specific depth of knowledge, or DOK. Depth of knowledge refers to the complexity of thinking required to complete a task in a given item. For both math and ELA, items with different DOK designations focus on the following: DOK 1, the recall of information, such as definitions and terms and simple procedures. DOK 2, requires students to make decisions, solve problems, make accurate generalizations, or locate supportive details. DOK 3, features higher order cognitive tasks such as critiquing a statement and forming a conclusion, explaining, justifying, proving a statement, or approaching abstract and complex problems. DOK 4 requires the need for information to be synthesized, applied, and analyzed. For ELA, 2 to 3 items will be developed at the DOK 3 level for each set of items written to a passage or passage set. The DOK 4 designation may be used for the development of extended response items in ELA. Each grade's blueprint contains information about the number of points of opportunity students will encounter at each DOK level. As per the recent announcement, the Ohio Department of Education will be extending the test window for the spring 2021 tests in English Language Arts, Math, Science, and Social Studies assessments. Further communication will be made available shortly. The English Language Arts test window for online and paper tests start on March 22, 2021 and ends on April 23, 2021. Mathematics, Science, and Social Studies test window for both online and paper-based tests starts on March 29, 2021 and ends on May 7, 2021. Districts are to select 15 consecutive school days to complete all tests. To maintain the technology and test security requirements, even after considering this year's unique situation, there is no option to administer state tests remotely. All tests are to be administered in person with a test administrator who is an employee of the district with a license, certificate, or permits issued by the Ohio Department of Education. Students appearing for ELA tests in grades 3 to 5 get 90 minutes for Part 1 and 90 minutes for Part 2. The test times for ELA Ohio State assessments vary from grade to grade. The English Language Arts tests for grades 6 through 8, ELA 1 and ELA 2 will have 2 writing prompts described in the Ohio Blueprint. Students need adequate time to organize and support their responses with facts from the reading passages. Hence, there is an additional 15 minutes compared to the lower grades. In math, grades 3 to 5, students get 75 minutes for Part 1 and 75 minutes for Part 2. To accommodate sufficient time for complex calculations, an additional 15 minutes is allocated for grades 6 to 8 math tests. So 90 minutes for both Part 1 and Part 2. At each grade level/course, performance level descriptors are general statements describing what students should be able to do at each performance level. After the Ohio State Mathematics test is scored, each student's performance level is identified based on the combined scores, Part 1 and Part 2. Districts and schools receive item level reports and the performance level for each student along with the performance level descriptors. Teachers and math coaches can use this information for their instructional design. The following are the defined PLDs for Ohio students. Limited. A student performing at the limited level demonstrates a minimal command of Ohio's learning standards and has an emerging ability to understand the grade level concepts. Basic. A student performing at the basic level demonstrates an appropriate command of Ohio's learning standards and has a general ability to understand the grade level concepts. Proficient. A student performing at the proficient level demonstrates an appropriate command of Ohio's learning standards and has a consistent ability to understand the grade level concepts. Accelerated. A student performing at the accelerated level demonstrates a strong command of Ohio's learning standards and has a superior ability to understand the grade level concepts. Advanced. A student performing at the advanced level demonstrates a distinguished command of Ohio's learning standards and has a sophisticated ability to understand the grade level concepts. The practice site offers several tests to help students and educators prepare for Ohio's state tests. The available tests include practice tests and released item tests. Here, students will see the types of items that will appear in the Ohio tests. Additionally, these online tests allow students to navigate the testing system, use the available tools and features, and familiarize themselves with the testing experience. For educators, the tests provide an opportunity to review examples of how Ohio's learning standards may be assessed. Few commercially available programs also offer realistic Ohio test practice to help prepare students for the assessments with rigorous practice and targeted remediation for their skill gaps. They follow the recent blueprints and also include all the item types seen in the actual assessments. These available items can also be used as bell ringers in classroom work. The AIR online reporting system displays students' performance in 3 to 5 subscores. This chart shows each subscore to the area of Ohio's learning standards tested for each grade. We hope this was helpful. It is now time for our Q&A sections. Feel free to share your questions in the comments. Thank you for joining us today in our EdShorts session on 2021 Ohio State tests. We will return soon with more updates.